All
Yeah,
right.
most people on it. Let's go.
Welcome, all you recovering emo kids, to Emo Kids Anonymous podcast with your host, Amanda and Rob. And we are so grateful today to have the amazing band Socialghosts here with us. The members Connor, Druva, and Sean. Hey guys, how you guys doing today? Excellent. I think this is the most people we've had on the pod ever, which is fantastic.
We've never had like literally when Connor popped on, I'm like, okay, Connor's ready. And then Druva comes on, I'm like, shit, we're doing multiple people. And then Sean took, I'm like, this is the one time, because whenever we have a band, for some reason, they'll maybe do it on one. It's like, there we go. This is the rare time where a band is like, maybe the whole band should get interviewed for
I love
fucking
it.
once.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So props to you guys for believing in democracy
How
and
it should be.
equalization.
And for all those who are listening and watching, of course, if you're listening and watching, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications for all the new episodes that pop up for Emo Kids. And also, these guys are from the local Los Angeles area, so Rob is going to be wilding out throughout this episode. I'm just giving everyone a heads up. He's really excited.
I apologize. Yeah, we got some LA connections here. I'm very rarely we interview an actual LA band that's actually authentic to LA. Once I realized there was a legit LA connection, even in our emails, I was like, what's going on here? Where are we at? So yeah, I apologize in advance. But diving in, I mean, you guys obviously popped up on my feed a few days ago. Give these people a rundown.
Yeah.
Who the hell is Socialghosts? Who are you guys?
Who wants to take this one? Should I just go for it here?
Yeah, Connor, brother, you got this is Bleach Blonde area.
So I guess 2019 is when we all came together, and I had just kind of my last band had kind of fizzled out, and I was like, okay, I was doing production, I guess to make ends meet and stuff, but I was like, I really need something creative to do. And just being a producer alone just wasn't doing it for me. And so I put out an ad on Craigslist, and I was just like, okay, I'll do literally
19 Craigslist. It still works for bands?
Fantastic.
Yeah. God, this gets me hyped up.
And I was like, I just want to like jam and have fun and just like see who's around and who's down and who has similar influences and just take it from there. And then I met Sean. We had a jam session, and it was so funny because that jam session, I actually kind of thought he didn't like me or he didn't vibe well with me. And I was like, oh man,
he doesn't fuck with me.
I really like jamming with him, but I don't know. I guess I misread it. And then he hit me up like a few days later, and he was just like, "So we're jamming again, right?" And I was like,
"What are we doing here?" It's our first date with a couple of boys, yeah.
Exactly. And then Druva came into the fold maybe a couple months after that, and we had a bass player for a while as well. But then we just downgraded to a trio, and then the pandemic hit, and that sucked. So we did a lot of writing over Zoom while that was happening.
It sucks, but like from a human perspective, the pandemic sucks. But from an artistic music business perspective, the pandemic also almost provides like a starting over point where I imagine you guys can kind of like, it's like, okay, everyone's at zero right now. We can kind of.
Yeah, I mean, we were sort of like, we were getting ready to like play our first gig. We're like, the goal was to be ready to play a show by like April 2020.
That's not gonna happen.
And then it just did not happen.
Yeah, somewhere late April, late March.
Yeah, that was
April,
the goal.
we'll play a gig.
And like, yeah, Druva was still at UCLA at that time, so we were like, oh, maybe we can play somewhere like over near there. We can get a bunch of his college friends to come out. That'll be fun. And
Western crowd will show out. Yeah,
there you go.
But we ended up. They gave us a chance to kind of dig deeper into some of the songs and making them, deconstructing them and making them better. We took all the pressure off of like getting ready to play a show. We didn't have to worry about that part of it anymore. We just work on like making the songs better, which was in some ways, super beneficial.
As artistic, there's a benefit to that where you take a step away where you're not having to worry about the show so much. So you guys start early 2019. Are you actually Los Angelinos? Because nobody's actually from LA. So where are you guys originally from?
I'm from California. I'm from Northern California. Grew up in Sacramento.
Okay.
I moved down here in 2009 though, so it's been a long time. Been here for like 15 years.
So you live in LA now. Whereabouts in LA are you?
I live in Northeast LA, like Glass Hill Park area.
Okay. I'm in Woodland Hills. I moved to LA in 2012. So like I've been a Valley boy for about 10 years. So
nice.
This is the story. We all moved to LA from somewhere else. Then we get stuck here.
You make it sound so exciting to live in LA,
Tar
Rob.
pits, man. La Brea Tar pits.
Yeah, no, you get sucked in, bro. You're stuck. Like,
yeah.
Rob, we're practically neighbors because I'm in
I
Agora
was gonna
Hills.
say. I was just say you're at Agora Hills, and I know you work at Feldman Studio, and I know the studio recently changed, but I'm under the impression the last studio was on the same block as me, like was right up Victory Boulevard. So you're right in the area basically. You're a West Valley boy. We
Yeah.
got a freshman in and out
So
together.
Connor and Drew, are you both from LA originally too, or California?
I'm
Oh,
from
okay.
Santa Barbara originally. Actually, I was born and
Gotcha,
raised in
yeah.
Santa Barbara.
Okay. My daughter's mom was a UCSB kid. Yeah, Santa Barbara is gorgeous.
Oh, cool, man. Nice. Yeah. I'm from New York originally, and then I moved to Pittsburgh for college, and I moved out here for law
Nice,
school.
very
So I've
good.
been all over.
So you do what? You went to undergrad. You did it like Pitt or something like that.
Carnegie Mellon.
Okay, and then you come out here for UC. You go out to UCLA for
So are
post
you a
grad stuff.
lawyer?
Okay,
Yeah. So I've
for
been
smart kid shit.
You're a licensed
I am
lawyer.
very
That's
much a lawyer.
helpful. That's very helpful
Jesus.
for a band, right?
I literally turned around.
I was gonna say.
I turned around. It was like this computer now. And
This is a
after
good
this would be
spot.
that
Yeah, I've been in multiple bands, and we were usually community college
He's like-
dropouts. Connor, Sean, you guys are smart. A legitimate college graduate, like good angle here, fellas.
That is
I see what you
fantastic.
fucking did here. Yeah.
I love it. All right, so you guys got together. You're writing songs during the pandemic. So when do you actually get to play your first gig?
What was that? 2021, right?
Yeah, early spring 2021.
No, we played our first show in April of 2022.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Damn.
2021 is just when things were starting to
Okay.
Yeah,
reopen.
you're totally right.
Yeah. So you're just recording, and the
Okay.
world is opening up.
Because
Yeah.
LA especially,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird here.
yeah, like the whole
Right.
vax thing, and then we didn't have things open up till like
Yep.
late 21, I would say, when it was like you could actually be in a public setting. And then
Yeah, that sounds right.
22, like was when people were like, all of us can be in a bar and watch a band again. I think there's actual things where we were like, there's no point in playing shows because no one was booking shows until like late 21, 22.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd say late 2021 is when the shows start opening up again. Because for here in LA, unless you were a major act, you were a local act, there was no point
Yeah.
in booking a fucking show.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask,
remember
what was
that.
that show?
Yeah.
You're like, obviously, it's already a big deal because it's post-pandemic, which is a big deal for everyone, right? We're all together in the same space for the first time, masked up, not masked up, vaccinated, and then now it's your first show as a band. Like, what was that like? Any hiccups? Anything going on? Like, no.
It was super fun. We played at Molly Malone's and
I was gonna say, where was the show? Molly Malone.
Classic.
Shout out Molly Malone.
Classic first band.
They
First gig.
They try to get you to sell the 30 pre-sales.
We actually had no problem doing that, which was
I was gonna
the
say
yeah.
the early pre-sales on some of those shows are if you have a good network, it's pretty easy. Like they're pretty militant about it.
Yeah.
at that point we were just so excited to be able to play a show that we were just like, fuck it, we'll do the pre-sale. We don't give a shit. We just need a stage right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
By that point, you're just eager because by that point you've been a band for over a year. How many? It looks like based on the we're going off Apple Music and Spotify and the like. By that point, you had multiple singles out. So
Yeah.
you've been aching to play the show for a fucking year.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And you all come from scenes where back in the day we would play in bands, and after a couple months it'd be like, hey, let's book a show.
Right.
So at this point you've
years.
literally been sitting on it.
Yeah.
Totally. It was a very unique experience to go through the pandemic, and then we had a band, but it's like we were more of a recording band before we played any shows for literally years. That's never happened before in my life, and I've been playing in bands since I was 11 years old. So that was very unique, but it was also very exciting. It made the anticipation even more extreme, for sure.
I was gonna say it has to be a little cathartic, right there. You're on Fairfax, you're playing Molly Malone's. I'm guessing it's a Friday night. It's about 9:45 p.m. You're on that stage. There's got to be a moment there where you're just like, this is actually real. This is a fucking band that I've actually made. These songs exist. This isn't just the internet, right?
It was funny too, because I was so nervous to play that show, and I've played so many shows by that point, just in general.
That's over the years, yeah.
It was I felt like I was playing my first ever show again, but we were well rehearsed, and I think we sounded good for our first show, but it was very exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time.
Yeah, and for me it was actually the first time I ever played a show where you had actual in-ear monitors and a whole backing tracks and stuff.
Your first time to the semi big leagues.
Yeah,
where
so
where
I
you can
played
hear
in
yourself. Yeah.
yeah. The band I was in before was like just like all like real instruments, and it was like kind of like
You said Sacramento
really,
before this, right?
well, this was in LA before this
But I
band.
meant before this, you grew up in the Sacramento scene, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
you're just
yeah,
kind of doing more DIY, just regular
yeah.
ass local
That was
shows.
my high school band was like very DIY. Even when we went to the studio, we were recording live, like just playing in the
Yeah,
studio.
different world. Yeah, LA, brother, welcome to LA. Yeah, we don't do that shit.
Yeah, the in-ear monitor thing, that was actually, I know this is like going into like nerd territory, but that was something that was very appealing to me to do in this band, like right off the bat, because like a lot of bands get started and it's just like, let's just play a show and that's it. Like we don't need in-ears or whatever. But for me, I was like, there is no fucking way that I'm gonna go back to just like jumping up on stage like it's just like a bar band or whatever. Like, not, I have no issue with that in general, but for me, I was like, I want to hear my vocals without having to compete with other instruments being blasted at me.
I got my Jerry Harvey audio in ears right here for the same purpose. Once you get, it's like a once you go black, you never go back situation with the in ears, you know, where it's like you do a performance with these one time and you're like, bro, I'm never going back to those stupid fucking center fills and stuff like that. Like,
Seriously.
no, you want me to listen to my monitors like a commoner? Like, no, I have an in ear, I have a metronome, I have a track. Like, nah, dog. Like, that level hits
better, I think, because you can hear your voice. Like if you're singing, like you can actually hear if you're off and corrected. And whereas like sometimes playing live, it's like, you know, you don't know if you sounded good until literally
and maybe someone recorded it and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
I also love playing to a click.
Good.
It's just like just having that going in your ear just makes the whole tighter too.
I'm so with you. And there was a while as a musician where it like I would tell him like turn the click off on my thing. I just want to hear the drummer do the tap tap on the cymbal kind of thing. And then you finally get it and you're just like, oh wait, it's going the whole time in your ear. I'm so on beat with every single thought I have. Like not even the vocals, just like my brain is running on a metronome. I'm at 135 BPMs right now. Like this is fucking awesome. Like once you go into that level of like that second level of professionalism as a band, it is, in my opinion, fucking impossible to go back.
And and you also don't even really hear the click unless you're off, you know, because like if you're in sync, then like the click just isn't that apparent. But if you start to get off a little bit and you start to hear like some flamming, then you know like, oh shit, okay, I need to like get back on track here. So
Exactly.
Anyway, we just had to take a little nerd detour there.
Amanda knows. Yeah, sometimes this track it runs. It's like an ATV. The track goes off road.
So have you played since then live, or have you gotten to do any tours with anyone, or what does that look like for you? What has your live gig journey looked like?
Yeah, I mean, we played a few shows since then. Honestly, I still think because all of us have like, full-time jobs and gigs, and if you're LA familiar, like Sean's pretty close to me coming Silver Lake. He's probably like a 10-minute drive, but Connor's about an hour out, which like in LA world can be like an hour to 2 hours.
Maybe like a couple of times.
You're about Atwater Village, right?
Yeah. He may as well be in Vegas.
Atwater to Agora Hills, that could be 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Like there's it's a different world.
So we've still kind of kept that like mostly in the recording studio type energy and vibe, but I think something we're trying to do more of is play more live shows. We've experimented with some acoustic sets because like all of us can play well without tracks, which is surprising to LA.
Which is good. In 2025 is like, let me tell you, I feel like I'm like 10 years older than you guys. I'm 35. I grew up in the LA scene in the twins, and it was like we saw the transition from like every band using tracks, and maybe it's the dinosaur in me where I'm just like, don't let me see the fucking tracks. I don't want to see the laptop next to the drummer. Just put it. Put it on the fucking floor, Tom.
Yeah.
Tuck it away. I know they exist. Just hide it. But that's become a thing in the last 10 to 15 years where it's become very prevalent, where it's like the live bands are no longer live in LA.
It's kind of turning in. Well, I think it's coming full circle. I feel like a lot of my friends who go see live music were like, we actually want to see his mistakes. And we actually want to see things go off time. And like, my background's more into like weird fusion jazz and all this other stuff. where like that is like
you want to see it go off the road for a second before it comes back.
Yeah, you want to see the Dead play like 35 minutes of nothing. You're like, this is why I paid money to see this. If I want to hear like, you know, all the small things perfectly, I can do it for free on my phone. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think there actually is. It's kind of funny. I feel like with the live stuff, I'm currently advocating for like we need less tracks and we should actually go more off.
If you guys ever need a second or a third guitarist on a live show, I'll fucking tag along. I'll do it for free right now just to fucking avoid the tracks. I'm so anti-tracks. I'll come through with my Fender Jag. I'll blare out some fucking chords for you. Like, let's fucking get rid of the
live stream where we kept complaining about how so many of the bands you could hear their live track behind them. It was turned up so loud.
No, and that didn't exist 15 years ago.
Yeah, I was like, why? Is someone singing with Travis from We the Kings? No, that's just their live track. That's way too loud. That's way too loud.
Yeah, it is interesting, though. I feel like there's a lot of that going on. But yeah, otherwise, back to the real question. I think we're trying to play more. We've been focusing on getting a bunch of new songs done and then into the set list, which would be pretty fun to get live. And we're like experimenting with like different live setups. Like I've played drums live. I also play guitar live. When I play guitar live, we have like a drummer fill in, obviously. So there's just been kind of like that experimentation going on, but it's been cool, man. Honestly, it's been a fun time. LA's a cool place to kind of play as like a newer band or like an up and coming band, I would say. You kind of see all kinds of different approaches, right? Like I'm sure there's some crazy DIY scene if I went to like, you know, Long Beach and then like,
if you go to the right parts of Long Beach or the right parts of like a Silver Lake area, or some more local places in South LA, you're going to see some cool local scenes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the rest of LA, like Hollywood and the like, it's going to be industry showcases.
Yeah,
we're doing showcases. We're presenting something for the labels and management to see.
It's interesting as like coming as a transplant because I would say like, you know, Pittsburgh and like the general like Midwest like Chicago scene and like, you know, down to Nashville super DIY, super like you're gonna like just rip, you know, a Telecaster into a deluxe with no effects. And you're like, fuck yeah, this is it.
We're playing our set, we're playing our telly through our Vox, and we're fucking going. Like, there's no first time ever. It's funny because you guys have the song Silver Lake. First time I ever saw a vocalist at a local show run like a vocal compressor, like a pedal style, was at the Silver Lake Lounge. And I remember just being like, what the fuck are we doing? Kind of thing. Like, what are we doing? Like you don't need that, bro. You don't need to compress your vocals at the live show at the dive bar.
So anyway, I think we're definitely like working on that kind of stuff and like figuring out like, you know, making a live show flexible at different venues and different like audiences. Honestly, we just played an acoustic show at the Black Cat in Silver Lake. That was pretty cool.
There we go.
We had like an acoustic basis, and that was like obviously no tracks, totally live. So that was pretty fun. But I think we're definitely trying to just, you know, get new songs and experiment with different like configurations, see what happens.
Where are you getting your so when you're doing your shows, obviously you're a 3-piece. And if you're not playing the drums, where are you finding your guest, like drummers, bassists, etc.? Where are you finding those folks?
We have like some friends. Like most of us have friends in the music industry. My friend Aiden is a really good bass player. He's filled in. We have 2 drummers we've used. Ryan, I forgot Ryan's last name, man. Connor, do you know his last name?
Ryan Brown.
Ryan Brown. Ryan's awesome. He's like a touring drummer. He's incredible.
Typical name that doesn't help. Yeah.
Say again.
It's the most typical name that exists. Like I went to high school with Ryan Brown. I know like 6 Ryan Browns. This doesn't narrow down shit for us. Yeah.
He's fantastic, and then Joel Meza, who is also fantastic, and they're like studio session guys. So like they learn the songs like 2 minutes and jump on and just rip it.
It's the magic part of session guys, the LA thing. Like, did any of you guys go to any of the music schools in LA by chance? Are you MI kids at all?
I went to MI for like 2.5 months and then I dropped out.
Connor, what was your program, brother?
So, actually I did the guitar program, but, I got bored with it and I just opted out of all my guitar classes and did all the music business classes.
Okay. Yeah. I was in 2015. I went to MI. I was at the time they had just announced, like the year before, as a brand new program, was the independent artist program.
Cool.
And I went for that. And the guitarist of my old band, the Wilding Hearts, he went to the guitar program. The old drummer of my band went to the drum program. And there was benefits to those and negatives to those and yada yada yada. But the music business program came along, or the independent artist program came along, and it was like, oh, this would be great for me, this and that. And then it was like very much like, oh no, this isn't that awesome. It's kind of a step below. But I understand the music business program is kind of like a step, like a pretty solid program where it's a step into the actual business. Did you feel the same thing, or was it kind of just this similar situation I had where it's kind of just maybe I'm a little too advanced for this?
I mean, I definitely didn't feel like, wow, I'm too advanced for this program. I don't know, I didn't really want to learn guitar anymore. I felt like I knew everything that I wanted to know at that
Yes.
point. Was way less interested in being like a shredding guitar player, and I was just like, I really just want to make great songs.
Yes.
And that's really what I care about more. Like, I would rather listen to like a great song by a band that like the guitar player is mediocre.
Right, that's kind of what I mean. MI, a lot of the times, it's a very technical school. They're training you so you can become the guitarist for when Pink goes on tour or Olivia Rodrigo. You can go fill in and play guitar for her. Like, it trains you for that. It doesn't train you necessarily to be an artist or a songwriter, especially in like the guitar programs and the like. Yeah, so I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, at least that was my experience. I
Yeah.
can't knock it for like other people who have gotten
No, great
stuff out of it.
school in general. Yeah.
I did really enjoy my music business classes. It's just after a couple months, I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm just gonna go play songs and stuff, and like, I just don't think I need to be here.
That's very valid. Yeah.
So, yeah, I did after that, but I did have a very brief MI experience.
I figured there's 3 LA musicians here. I figured one of us did some MI time. That's reasonable.
So, go ahead.
What's the songwriting process here? Sorry, man, to cut you off, because I noticed, like, you know, like I come from a world where it's like, oh, the guitar, I make up a song on the guitar, and then the drummer follows along. But it's an interesting situation here where it seems like we have a bit of hybrid situation, like Daruva's saying. I noticed there's a lot more electronic elements with the production and the like. What's the songwriting process? Is it more of a garage band thing? Is it we're still sitting around organically? How are we doing this?
It depends on the song. I think we've done it a bunch of different ways. Sometimes it's like one of us comes with sort of like partial song like written, like an idea written, and then we sort of all go up to Connor's studio, and then he opens a session, and we sort of, you know, plug in some of it, and then it ends up changing over time into evolving into something else. And sometimes we just like try to make something up on the spot, you know. So it definitely, we've had, I mean, our newest song that just came out, Honest,
yeah,
that one is like, I remember Druva and I kind of wrote it at his place one time. We kind of just came up with some lyrics and then wrote like some verses and a chorus. And then now what you hear as the bridge was actually the chorus at that time. And then once we took it to Connor's and plugged it in, then we ended up writing totally new verses and a new chorus, and then plugged that old chorus in as the bridge. So, you know, songs can evolve quite a lot over the time of us.
Lyrically and musically, you guys are writing these together, very much so?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
I would say almost all of our songs are basically like pretty. I mean, obviously Connor's producing the whole thing, mixing the whole thing, etc.
But lyrically and chord wise, like basic bare bones stuff, we're going all 3 kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll be something where one of us comes up with a really good idea for like a verse and maybe part of a chorus, and we like change the chorus. Our song Silver Lake, I feel like Connor wrote most of the first, like the first verse and the chorus, and then we tweaked the chorus a little bit. Then like I wrote most of the bridge, and then we all kind of collaborated on the second verse lyrics. So it's just, I mean,
this is sick. I feel it's so rare now.
I would also say
like a true band.
Yeah, go ahead, Connor.
Silver Lake, I remember actually, I was over at Druva's house, and he had come up with the initial chord, like the main chord progression for it, and I just started humming a melody, and he came up with a lot of those lyrics. Actually, I feel like I'm more of like a music melody kind of person, rather, because a lot of the times Sean and Druva will be working on the lyrics while I'm building the song out, like if we're working in like a studio setting.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like my personal
I get a similar kindred spirit sense with you right now, where I imagine a lot of your stuff comes down to production and hooks and the like. Where at the end of the line, I imagine you seem like to me like a guy where it's same as me, where you're worried about what is the pop sensibilities of this song. Would I be accurate in that at all?
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely,
it's that production sense.
Anytime like I hear an idea, it's like I want it to be as good and also like as accessible as it can possibly be.
I think I'm up the opposite.
I'm like, you're like, I'm trying to make this indie as worse, bro. Yeah. How do I make this? How do I touch this shit?
How can I add something from like a medieval loop piece that no one wants to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, let me fucking throw in some. Let me throw in a 7/8 part right here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like,
no,
let me put in
it
John
checks out,
Phillips
bro.
Sousa motif.
For me,
It
my main
checks
goal of
out.
writing any song is like
Yeah.
it's got to be something that can get stuck in your head. If it's not gonna get stuck in your
Yeah.
head, then we need to start like scrapping some
Especially
of
at
it,
the
you
end of
know?
the day,
I think
pop punk, pop rock. The key word is pop there, and pop is about stickiness and getting stuck in your fucking brain.
I think
Exactly.
that's also what, like, you know, when people are like, what makes your band unique? I think I always kind of say a few things. And like the first thing is I feel like for this whole like pop punk emo alt rock scene, we're kind of in this like second circle wave, whatever you want to call it, of like the older folks who were 15 are now 30 and are like, oh,
Yes.
like we can now come back to this music
We circle
after
back
having.
to it, but now we have some sensibilities now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, like I can play more than 1 4 5 6, but like I can
Yeah.
now play a 1 4 5 6 in a very like mature
I can do it
way.
in a
Or
cool way, in a dancey way. Yes, we're
exactly.
still doing the same progressions, but there's a level of maturity here that comes with like pop production and technicality things that you learn over time. Yeah, we're not a
Yeah.
garage band banging this out anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I also like, even the bands that are like the newer, you know, the newer heralds of it, like Neck Deep and State Champs and all those guys, they also had like so much more referential material
They do,
to
yeah,
learn
yeah.
from and build upon. So like even the music that, you know, I listen to, or even some of the other guys like Fall Out Boy and, you know, kind of that whole generation,
Yeah.
like All Time Low, MCR,
Big
all
Fall Out Boy show
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like all of those guys though have learned so much. So like the genre itself has matured. And I think the reason why it's fun playing this stuff now is like you can approach a lot of it with like
Yes.
you can be like in like an 18 to 22-year-old mindset, but also be like, yeah, dude, I want to throw in some fucking
Yeah.
crazy like
Yes.
attitude four chord or whatever the fuck you want to call
There's
it.
a level of maturity combined
Yeah.
with the level of straight pop sensibilities that come with like immaturity. Yeah, where it's like, oh, this is music, yada yada, but like
And
maybe
then
we can throw something in that's interesting.
And then I would say, like, I think all three of us have like a very common, like, probably a common core, common DNA of like certain bands and music. But then we also have like a completely wild offhand things. Like, you know, obviously like Sean, like you study like theater and stuff
Did
in
you?
college. Like Sean,
Yeah.
and Sean's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say,
Where was it at? Yeah, in Sacramento?
Occidental in LA. That's actually why
Occidental College in LA?
Okay.
Yeah,
Shout
shit.
out fellow
that's why I
theater
moved to LA.
kid.
Was go there and
Okay.
then
Okay, you were an Occidental
it.
kid. Okay.
so, but I would say like, of course, like Sean's primary instrument is like voice and piano, which like comes down to songwriting. But for me, I like barely, if ever, sing, and my stuff is drums and guitar. Like I'm
Yes.
very focused on like obviously rhythm.
You're
And
Did you like
I would say like,
yeah.
I'm less concerned about melody and much more concerned about like rhythmic pieces. And like, I love like Bach and stuff. Dude.
Yes.
That's my fucking
Okay.
jam.
Yes. So you're worried about rhythmic pieces and maybe a progression or a general structure.
Exactly. And of course, with Connor, he has all the production stuff. So he is much more aware and concerned about like, all this is good, but like, how does it actually like
Yep.
convey an idea? Right. So it's cool because I would say a song like Silver Lake, even, you know, at first glance is like your kind of standard pop punk
Yeah.
song, 3 minute 30, whatever.
First, yeah.
But then like the actual bridge, like the bridge section, the chorus and the various parts, there's actually a lot there that actually is kind of fucking weird. Like there's like a
To me,
slide.
no.
But I
To
was
me,
like,
that's what
it
makes
makes
you
it stand
guys,
out.
in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, just full disclosure, I do very minimal scrolling on TikTok, but every day I'll see at least 20 to 30 random bands that pop up that have similar kind of things where it's like, if you like these bands, you might like this, our band and kind of thing. And like a lot of them are good, but it's a matter of like, Amanda, and there's only so much time here. Like there's only so many, like we can only, you know, you think like, but there's something about you guys where it's like, there seemed to be a next level of pop sensibility there where, and even things like where it's like you reference Knox or Soundtrack
Even
or
the
Water
lyrics,
Parks, things
too.
like that, where it's like, there's a level of pop. Yeah, a pop sensibility here where it's like I can tell there's next level production on there. And then I dive in, I reach out to you guys and I realize I believe Connor, right? I realize you work with obviously pop punk, super fucking god of
Yeah.
our world, John Feldman.
That's correct. Yeah, that's my day to day. 4 days a
So
week.
your day to day, 4 days a week, you're working with John Feldman, who by the way, let me just say, obviously anyone in our world, huge Goldfinger fans. And then, you know, in the last 15 years, 10 years. So I mentioned I went to MI. And when I was at MI, I'm in a music business class here with Bobby Bogner, and they're showing our songs to the class. And he literally leans to me and says, you should be doing what John Feldman does. This is before Blink releases California. This is before Feldman really blows up the second, third time where it's like we recognize him as the guy he is. And he's like, you should be doing what Feldman does and working with younger bands and helping craft their hooks and this and that. And I remember being like, the Goldfinger guy? Like, I don't want to fucking do that. I want to be in a band myself. And then a year later, California comes out and the Five Sauce record comes out and this comes out and that comes out. And Feldman is recognized as finally gets this credit as like maybe since Jerry Finn, the greatest, producer in our world. I saw him I saw your boss at the Target on Ventura in Woodland Hills here. During the pandemic, and we're both in the toy section shopping for our kids, and I'm just like, "Hey, John, love your work on California." Thank you, brother. That was it. I was like, I didn't have anything else. I didn't want to talk about Goldfinger. Didn't want to talk about this or that. I saw him at Back to the Beach with Goldfinger a few months earlier, but it's just like production work. I was like, I feel like I've seen this guy get a lot of shit on the internet that he doesn't deserve. Whereas like this production has kind of set us apart. So like, I mean, yeah, I guess long story short, where does this experience with John Feldman directly impact you as an artist, as a writer, as a creator, as a producer? What do you take from it? What do you not take from it? I mean, floor is yours, brother.
I mean, that's a lot to tackle there.
Yeah, we'll tackle as much as we can.
I think it really, working there has kind of changed everything. I was self-taught on Pro Tools before starting to work there, and I thought it was like...
You're fully self-taught on Pro Tools before you start working there?
Yeah.
That's fucking insane, by the way. That's insane.
I thought I was like okay at it. Like I never had like any clients have any like issues or whatever. And so
when I realize there's levels to this, yeah.
So like I got to the studio, long story short, like I responded to an Instagram ad for some random person was like, producer seeking assistant. Didn't know it was John, but it was. And so he sent me a session to do. I did a session at home and then I sent it to him and then he said, okay, come meet me. And I showed up there and there was one other assistant there and he was so good at what he was doing that I was like, all right, well, this is going to be like my
all
first.
Right, it's going to work for me.
And this is great
cool,
to be here.
I got to see this.
Yeah, but this is probably it for me. But he kept me around, and I'm very grateful for that. And it's changed everything. I mean, like I get to see him write songs with other people, and I do like absorb whatever I can, and just see like how things operate in that type of environment.
When did you start working with him?
I've been there for about 3 years. It'll be the 3-year mark in September of this year.
So, especially I'd say, yeah, like I was saying earlier, like last 10, 15 years or so. I mean, you can take back 25 years. I mean, his work with the Used and the like, but Jerry Finn onward, especially the last 10 years, John has become like the guy in our scene in terms of this is the tastemaker and the sound. And I noticed too, when I listen to your guys' recordings, I can sense it where it's like, I don't imagine John is going in and engineering these songs. I imagine it's you, but like, I can feel it's like, there's a level of like Obi-Wan, Anakin shit going on here with you where it's like, I can tell. And like in the way you compress the drums and the way you layer up the vocals and the choruses, like I can hear these things. So if we want to get a little nerdy here, what are some nerdy tricks you've learned from Feldman over the years?
Not to overthink. In
terms of pop punk production, yeah.
That's not really like a nerdy thing that I've learned there, but not overthinking. I've always been an overthinker when it comes to working on stuff and mixing it, and I still am, and that is like that definitely causes delays in getting songs out. But I've definitely learned to not be as particular with certain things.
Yes.
Because like at the end of the day, like if it sounds good, it is good, and like people care way more about like hearing a great song than caring about like, oh, should the hi-hat be at 0.4?
I can imagine, yeah. Because a lot of the negative naysayer, weirdo, gatekeeping online stuff in terms of the last 10 years, in terms of Feldman production, has been like, the way this sounds or that sounds. And it's like, brother, let's look at the facts. These songs are being heard by more people than any other pop punk songs have been heard in the last 10 years or so. It's about accessibility. It's about simplicity. It's about craftsmanship. And there seems to be like a tightness to it that I could hear in your guys' things as well. When I listen, the most recent single, the Honest single, like as well, or Silver Lake, we go back, like there seems to be like a simplistic tightness to your song where you seem less worried about the indie hipster technicality bullshit and more about the general mainstream accessibility. Would you say that is pretty accurate in regards to Socialghosts?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of a mix of I don't know, it's like a lot of different things. I would say it's important to have like a really tight sounding recording.
Yes.
And I've also just learned about personal taste too a lot by working there and like being able to compare like, okay, this is what John likes, but like where do I have my own preferences, like and it's kind of just like finding the right balance of what do I think the majority of people are going to respond to, and also, okay, like what's some of like my own flavor that I can add into this? But I try to like how I try to approach those songs.
Yeah.
That's my approach to really
That
do
makes sense.
So,
Amanda, unless you have one last Feldman related question here. Since you've had this day job, what is your favorite actor artist you've gotten to work with, and what did you learn from them?
well, I know this is like a bit, but I love working with Travis Barker. Like such like gentleman and like a great person to work with and super smart. Like he's not just a drummer, like he's obviously
Yeah, it's kind of
an incredible drummer. We all know that, but really kind of like a lot of other aware of like
Sure. Ashner, yeah, those five sauce boys, I feel like, yeah, at some point in the last like 5, 6, 6, 7 years, I've seen them randomly around the valley where I'm just like, aren't you from Australia? What are you doing here? And I kind of clue it. I'm like, oh, maybe you're with John right now. I don't know. You're either with John or Travis, because like the valley is just kind of, if you're in our pop punk world, you're either with John or you're with Travis.
totally. Yeah.
What's next on the horizon for Social Ghosts? So you've been working on a lot of new music, you said. Do you have anything in the works as far as any more gigs coming up? Any plans for like a full album, anything like that? What's on the horizon for you guys?
Well, I think we're just focusing on dropping the singles right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it would be really fun to do an album. We've been tossing around the idea of maybe getting like an Airbnb and going somewhere and just having like a few days to just crank out songs.
Very cool.
That sounds like something that's very appealing.
It seems like the most frustrating part of being in a band now. Like in my head, it's like, because the same thing when I'm looking through your catalog, I'm like, oh, it's just single, single, single. In my head is like the artist dork. I'm like, aren't you like I want to release now? I would want to release now. I might even release now, but like commercially speaking, this wise, it doesn't make sense. You have to be releasing singles and the like. Like as an artist, like is there a level of frustration that comes with this where you have to play this modern game of like single, single, single? We're playing social media game as opposed to like maybe the artist nerd in you that's like, oh, I want to record a 12-song album in Joshua Tree with my boys.
I mean, for me, like I love albums, but I also feel like for us as a band that's still like building our audience, it's like it just makes more sense to do singles because it's like we feel
totally
every time you release an album, it's like there's songs that just get forgotten about, and I'm like we put so much work into all the songs. We want to give them all like the as much shine as they deserve, and so I don't know. I feel like releasing singles is an easier way to do that. So
no, that's absolutely. And I've been there before. When you're in a band, you're all excited, like I want to release this album. Then you release the album, it's 10 songs, and it's like, okay, well that's done. It's out. There's really no letting there's no cat back in a bag, monkey
like
back in a bottle. It's
one
done.
or two songs you have to pick to like push harder, and then
Yeah.
The rest are dead.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I think I would love to do an album at some point, but I think for where we're at right now is probably maybe an EP would be probably a good middle ground to do at some point.
That seems to be the modern way of doing things. Like you have to go single, single, single.
Yeah.
But I was just, I imagine a party is still like, I'd like to record that 12, 10 song album that really exemplifies what Social Ghost means and what we stand for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of you have been in bands prior, and obviously you've worked on a lot of stuff during the pandemic, which is when TikTok really blew up, right? And that's where a lot of bands have found success in building their audiences. So for you, how do you feel about the approach of using social media as your tool in building your audience? Whereas back in the day, it was playing shows and putting yourself out there that way instead of, or on like a MySpace page. This way, it's like putting yourself on 1-minute reels or TikTok videos to get people to like go to your Spotify page, your Apple Music page.
Yeah.
What have you, what's your experience been like with that? Do you prefer that? Have you had any issues with that? Just talk a little bit about that experience in building your fan base that way.
I guess I'll take this one because that's something that I'm mostly in charge of, is getting the content posted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The content creator of the bunch, but I could tell by the beautiful bleach blonde hair. Similar handsome boy shit going on here. Yeah, we gotta be the ones.
Back in, I don't know, like when the whole like TikTok explosion was happening, I was like, I can't get behind this. Like, I can never see myself doing the type
of artist in you where you're like, oh, this is fake. This is bullshit.
I just can't see myself doing that. But then we were really like, okay, what can we do to grow our band? Because like clearly nothing we're doing is working, you know, so like what can we do? And so we're just like, let's just do the cringe content where we're like lip syncing our song. Let's just
Cringe
do
that
it.
shit, boys.
And we started doing
You
it.
like Knox? Check us out. We'll respond to all your comments. That's how you fucking got me.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
bullshit, but it's how you got me. Yeah.
And it worked. And then once it
Yes.
started working, like then we're just like, all right, like let's just go full force into it, because
You have to play a level of the game that I'm sure is like part of like even as like poppy as as your band gets, my bands would be like, there's still a level of punk in here, artistic integrity thing where it's like you're like, I don't want to play this game, but motherfucker, you have to.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think once you see people starting to respond to it,
Yes.
some of the hesitancy
Yes.
of doing it is like kind of goes away. 'Cause you're like, oh, like this kind, it's kind of addicting.
It works, yeah.
And also just kind of going back to something we were talking about earlier about like the LA music scene in terms of like trying to, it's not an easy city to build an audience of like a local audience playing shows because of like
Impossible.
trying to just play live shows and build like when I was in Sacramento, like in my high school band, like like there were local bands I was legitimately fans of. I'd go.
Yeah. You guys had more of a sense of community in Sacramento,
Yeah,
and just
people
that.
come
LA,
to
we don't have
some
that.
new shows, and then you come to LA and it's like you're playing at a bar and there's like people. It's like your friends that you invited to come, and then there's like people that are there to just like drink, and then like maybe
We was in a band and we were both playing the same shows. We're not there as brother bands. We're not there to network. We're almost there competing against each other. We're competing against, God forbid, that one A&R person is in the crowd or this or whatever it is, the situation. There's no level of like I existed and survived as a full-time musician in LA from about 2012 to about 2017. And it's like at no point in that did I ever see a sense of camaraderie. It's very much like, brother, this is a Shark Tank. We're all kind of working against each other. There was no networking. There was no scene, so to speak.
And so I mean, the internet is sort of a place where it's a little bit more equal, even though that's kind of disappearing more and more. But I mean, I don't know. That's a whole other topic.
Would you guys say you have a bit of a local network here, a local scene here? Any other bands in this area that you're cool with, or is it still kind of like this?
I mean, we definitely have some bands we're cool with. I mean, we played shows with a lot of some of the clients that like Connor works with at his studio. We played shows with them.
So names. Let's drop some names. We can drop some names. Get some promo going for them.
Who have we done shows with? That
what was the name?
I'm just blanking off the top of my head.
The guys we ran into at the Knox show.
Well, yeah, that's right. The social.
Knox.
They're called
Tennessee's Finest.
So yeah, we played a show with them at Harvard and Stone.
Yeah,
played Harvard and Stone.
Yeah,
that's wicked. It's a MI classic. It's an MI mainstay venue. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
As an MI kid, you have to play Harvard and Stone. Amanda, you have no idea. Yeah, this is just part of the culture. You have to play there. No, you don't. You don't need to. You don't need to. Yeah.
Okay. We played with like
it's not important.
Too.
But yeah.
You worked with them, right? You worked with them, right?
Yeah. Actually, Jeremy from that band is working over at Feldman's studio with me now as his assistant. Exciting.
Nice.
So there's kind of a little bit of a scene, just a tiny bit. You have some friends over there.
It feels very disjointed. It becomes less sceney, more like network, like click. Where it's like these are my friends, as opposed to like, oh, there's a general scene. These are the band. Yeah, it's just like these are the homies that I fuck with that we played with.
There's a lot of circles of band. It's less of like. I don't know, like the 80s had like a music scene because it was like, everyone would go down.
You hear about the sun, and you can still see it here when you're in LA. You can still see, you go to like Sunset and stuff, you can still see like there's like the remnants of this Sunset Strip bullshit dream they're still living in, where they're like, oh, like this is the magic of LA. And it's like, oh, you want to play down here? You have to sell 50 pre-sales at $15 a pop, this and that. It's like, so this isn't really a scene. This is like, we're doing cash grab label showcases. Okay, which is still cool. Those things need to exist, but like, this is not the scene that you have waxed poetic about.
There's not I would say there's not a lot of people. There's not like a group of like a scene of people that just come out to like check out new music and discover it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot. Yeah, bands. You might get bands where you're networking and you're working together, and you might see people in the industry, this, that. But yeah, that level of local fan doesn't exist quite as much in LA. But that's not on them. I just think there's so many other things to do in this town where it's like it's hard for them to give. Yeah, like I mean, Amanda lives in. You grew up in Pennsylvania and later lived in Kentucky. I lived in small town Alberta, Canada. Those smaller bands in these areas, and I mean, same thing. Like Santa Barbara, Sacramento, where it's like these local bands are maybe more appealing because it's like, oh, this. But like here in LA, it's like brother, I can go see LeBron James, Luka Doncic. I can go see Matt Stafford. I can go see Justin Herbert. I can go see Paul McCartney. I can go see, fucking whoever. At any given moment, every night, there's 8 artists in town that are the biggest artists that exist, and not just artists, just entertainers. There's no need to go to that $12 local show. The West.
That's true. I mean, especially like I remember when I was in high school, like I would like go to shows and like if I saw a band like an opening band that I liked, I'd like purposely try to become a fan of them because I'm like they're probably gonna play shows near me that I can go to, as opposed to like having to drive to San Francisco to see anything, So there's not really that incentive here to do that. It's such a
it's a lot tougher. I remember one time about 10 or 15 years ago or so. I'm playing, we're working the local circuit, I guess you'd say, very hard. And we're outside the Roxy, and there's a line out the fucking door. And I'm like, who the hell is playing the Roxy tonight? Where they got a line out the door. I'm at the Rainbow, all tipsy, and they're like, this band 5 Seconds of Summer. I'm like, fuck, like who is that? I'm looking them up, thinking they're like some local band. You know what I mean? Like these Silver Lake kids. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh no, they're Australian. They have One Direction backing. They are on a major list, and it's like, okay. But we're not playing the Roxy anytime soon, boys. Like a couple of that certain things go out the window where you're like, okay, these aren't possible. Like anything seems possible. In the same sense, nothing seems possible because everyone exists here.
Totally.
Yeah, very, very true.
Let me ask you guys a question here really quickly there's a question we've asked multiple bands on here. I personally believe there is 3 types of pop punk music. There is Monster Energy drink pop punk. There is bubblegum pop punk. And there is cigarette pop punk. What do you classify Social Ghosts as? Where do you believe you fall into this spectrum that I made up in my brain?
I feel like we have different songs that fall into different headers.
Yeah.
Nobody ever wants to put themselves right into a category here. I love this.
I would say like 5 Gum, it's like all 3 of those.
I see. It's a bubble gum, but it's got a spice to it.
It's like a Monster Energy cigarette.
We do say the word cigarettes in 2 of our songs, so maybe I would go with that.
Okay, but even though, I was going to say, because I hear some cigarette mentions in a couple songs. Thankfully, the single thing makes it easy. I can listen to the whole catalog. I heard some cigarette mentions. Because at first, when I first listened to a couple songs, I was like, this might be the first legitimate bubblegum pop punk band we've had on the show. Because everyone wants to claim cigarette pop punk. Nobody wants to say they're bubblegum pop punk. And I was like, oh, these guys might be bubblegum. And then I fucking, I listened to 7 or 8 songs deep. And I'm like, God damn it, they might be cigarette pop punk too.
I mean,
I feel like Silver Lake is more in the
Monster Energy.
Silver Lake is cigarette pop punk.
Yeah.
You think so? Okay. Yeah, then fuck me, I guess.
Like honesty feels like bubblegum pop punk.
Yeah, I think
bubblegum for sure. That's what I was saying.
Honest, you could say honest bubblegum. I'm fine with that.
I would say 5 Gum once again, all 3.
Yeah, 5 Gum needs to be a really good, solid description.
We gotta get you that endorsement deal lined up, boys. I gotta send some emails to the 5 Gum people. Yeah, like this Coca-Cola should get them some fucking buys.
I feel like honest is bubblegum until you get to the bridge, and then it totally changes because it's all like vocals and stuff. So I mean, majority. I
feel like you guys do a well job of you do the bubblegum choruses, which I personally attribute. Connor, I just assume it's like that Feldmanism in you, where it's like, oh, these vocals are double, triple, quadrupled up. Like this is fucking slick, it's shiny. But then like there gets to little parts of the songs where I'm like, this isn't all bubblegum bullshit. Like there is there's some depth to this. There's some grit to it. So I hear it come out a little more in the verses and the bridge and the like, where you guys kind of add that oomph.
Totally. Yeah.
Gum. There we go.
Gun.
Excellent. All right. Well, Sean, Druva, Connor, thank you guys so much for joining us today. For anyone who's watching, where can they find you guys on the socials if they want to connect with Social Ghost?
Pretty much every handle we have is We Are Social Ghosts.
We are Social Ghost. Okay.
I like the lowercase, by the way. I was always a capital uppercase guy, but I appreciate you going the other way with that. As long as there's one or the other,
And our website is also wearesocialghosts.com. I know people don't really go to fucking websites anymore.
They should be typing in domains.
You have a really nice website, by the way. They should go.
You guys well put together social shit.
Did you guys do that, or did you have someone else put that together?
No, I'll DIY.
As I was gonna say, there's that little Los Angelino going on here. Where we've had to learn how to do all the technical stuff ourselves to look. You got to do a certain level of sheen bullshit here when you're an LA band.
Yeah.
You got to fool people a little.
Yeah.
I would just tell people, if you're trying to find us on YouTube or Spotify or any streamers, just Social Ghosts, lowercase, all one word. If you put Social Ghost 2 words or Social Ghost not plural, then other stuff will come up. So
Those guys too. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't fuck with them.
exactly.
Social Ghosts, all one, all lowercase.
Yeah, the social
Social
ghosts
Ghost.
with the capital letters and the 2 words and the non-pluralized ones, they are predators, they are perverts. Don't listen to them. On social ghosts, lowercase across the board. Yeah, these are the good ones. Yeah. No allegations against these guys.
Bruh.
Yeah. I apologize to any uppercase social ghosts that may exist that I may have just accused of that. Jesus Christ. Sorry.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. And everyone listening out there, have a great rest of your day. And we will talk to everyone soon.
Thank you for watching today's episode.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks for
Bye,
having us.
everyone.